Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. It is I, God Empress Jessie Milestone, here to talk to you today about more SJW hypocrisy. It just keeps rolling in. It's just such an easy topic to cover. Man, and I thought initially, back when I started doing this stuff, that it was super fun and super easy to point out hypocrisy on the far right. And look, it kind of is, guys. Admittedly, if you go far enough in any direction, the hypocrisy becomes glaring. But man, it is so much more rewarding and just viscerally satisfying to point out the levels of hypocrisy that right now exist on the left. And today, pointedly, we're going to talk about feminism and the Me Too movement. Because one of the latest people named, this actually is not technically part of the Me Too movement because this investigation started before that all happened, but one Avital Ronell, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, a renowned NYU professor who's written about gender stuff, who's talked about feminism, she's renowned as a feminist, she is a lesbian and all that stuff, has been charged, not just accused, she has been charged, not legally, by the institution. They have found that she has engaged in sexual harassment of one of her grad students, a man named Nimrod Reitman. Now let's all take a moment and giggle at the absurdity of the name Nimrod. Apparently it's a biblical name that has that's all cool and good and stuff. All I can think of is that Green Day album and the fact that when you were too young for swear words, sometimes you called people Nimrods when they were being dumb. But anyway, so this Mr. Reitman, 2 years after leaving this school, graduating, moving on to life and things like that, levied an accusation against Avital Ronell for sexual harassment, unwanted sexual advances, unwanted sexual touching, inappropriate messages, etc., claims stalking and retaliatory behavior. She was not found guilty of stalking, retaliatory behavior, sexual assault, any of that. She was specifically found to have committed sexual harassment, which is bad enough, man. And if that wasn't already oh my God, look, it's a feminist sexually harassing a man, if that wasn't bad enough, right, what happened after is even worse, all right? So you go through the process, and fairly typically, she denied everything. She said, no, all of these messages you see, this is just how we talked. We were just flirty people, and it was totally consensual. I mean, he's a gay man, I'm a lesbian, obviously. This is just fun, No one was getting hurt by this. Oh, he never told me he was uncomfortable. Oh, my God, I never knew. So all the usual standard BS of I didn't know I was doing a bad thing that nobody wanted. I thought everybody wanted me. Oh my God. If you see a picture of this woman, you can tell very clearly that not everybody wants her. In fact, probably nobody. But anyway, not the point. The point is that, so that was that. And then what happened after that is even worse. Whole bunches of other professors of people in her field, people she knows and stuff like that, writing letters being oh, well, we have no idea what is in the confidential reports about what happened. We've not seen these emails. We don't know the stories. We haven't heard this guy's story, but we do know that she's innocent because we like her and she's cool. And oh, that guy's obviously just out to slander her reputation. He's just obviously out to get her. Really? Really? They call these malicious acts. They asked, why didn't he speak up more when it was happening to him? They asked, why did it take him 2 years to do this? They claim this is just some form of attack, a malicious attack on her character. Where have I heard those arguments before? Oh yeah! Anytime a dude is trying to discredit a woman who's accused him of sexually harassing her. And these same people standing up for Miss Ronell are the ones coming out being making the same exact excuses for her. How disgusting can you be as people? Now, what you're doing is you're victim shaming this guy. Just like you complain that happens to women all the time. Why did it take 2 years for him to come out and say this stuff? I don't know. Probably because he was tooling around in his life and something happened that made him realize he still had deep psychological scars from being sexually harassed by a person who had power over him. Oh, why didn't he say more, when he was a student? Well, first of all, he claims that she threatened to retaliate whenever he expressed any discomfort. Second of all, when someone's in a position of authority over you, sometimes it's scary, it's hard. I don't know what the consequences are going to be of speaking out like this, right? Maybe you try to make up rationalizations and justifications. Oh, this person's not really trying to hurt me or anything. This is just fun or whatever. You feel guilty. You blame yourself because maybe it started out as flirty and fun. Maybe it started out as oh, this is just our relationship. And then she took it too far. And then it became uncomfortable, and at that point it was too late. But maybe he thought, maybe he tried to blame himself then too. How do I know that people do this? I've been there. I've done that. I had a very similar situation happen to me. Where we started out just close relationship, really, really cool, started to say things that made me deeply uncomfortable, continued to say things that made me deeply uncomfortable, started me pulling away, and then I talked to one of my friends about it. She's like, hey, Jesse, you're being sexually harassed. And I was like, oh, man, that's what's happening. So I filed a complaint with HR, and HR was like, you're a whore, and then told me it was my fault. That guy still works at the place that he works, and more on that later. But yeah, another point. The point is that all happens. That 100% happens. If you're ever like, that doesn't happen to people, oh my God, everyone's just making it up. No. And here's another thing. People don't make this stuff up. Like, very, very rarely does a person actually make up a sexual assault claim that they then, or sexual harassment claim that they then file through the correct channels. He went and said she's violating Title 9, whatever the thing is that's, protects gender equality in schools and gives everyone a safe and happy environment, whatever. Went through the school to do it, had them do an investigation, et cetera, right? You don't do that unless you're justified. Because you know what happens when you levy a complaint like that? Exactly what happened to him, where the person who harassed him is going to deny it, is going to discredit him, is going to dig up every little dirty detail she has about him to try to make him look the fool, to try to completely, discredit him, disprove him, shame him into maybe dropping the case, not wanting to deal with it, not even go through it. It's very, very damaging, especially after having gone through that harassment by that person, to then have them continue to try to tear you down. It is incredibly damaging. It is incredibly hurtful to people. People do not just bring this stuff out. Like, maybe, all right, if you're like, oh, me too, on the internet, then maybe, because you don't have to deal with any of the blowback like that. But when you actually go through the proper channels to file against somebody for sexual harassment, most of the time it's because they sexually harassed you. Because again, that is not a comfortable process, and it is not fun for you to go through that, having to try to prove that, go over every little detail, relive every moment, relive every detail, have people digging in your past and your life and trying to twist your words and make you, it's just really uncomfortable, gross experience. So no, I don't think he's making it up. I think it's utter nonsense. What I think is the most shameful thing, though, is that these are the same people who are arguing against those methods and tactics when it happens to women. I'm sorry, sexual harassment is wrong. You can't do it to anybody. It doesn't matter what gender the perpetrator is. It does not matter what gender the victim is. It is still equally wrong no matter who does it. And by sticking up for Mr. Ronell the same way that other people have done for men in the past, you're just continuing to perpetuate the problem. It's the same problem, and you're becoming part of the same exact problem. And that's what's even scarier is, all right, let's say this becomes the new norm. Oh my God, all the women sticking up for the women sexually harassing the men, right? As we're shifting a power dynamic, as we're moving into a world where women are taking more of the power, where one of the active points of feminism right now is female supremacy. What happens when you get that? Now we live in a world where men are just sexually harassed the same way women are. Now we just recreate the cycle of oppression, but with reverse gender roles, and that goes on for, I don't know, a few hundred years until the norm is oppression against the man, and then we need to have an entirely new sexual revolution, gender revolution, men's rights campaign or whatever. Like, do you not see what you people are doing? Do you not understand the implications your actions have? No, you don't. But apparently the issue goes even deeper than just the feminism hypocrisy and BS, and that this is apparently a huge issue. I was just talking to a friend of mine who was a grad student, who actually went through some psychological issues as a grad student, and went to one of his teachers at one point and was like, hey, I need some time off to go get some therapy. And she was like, absolutely not. We have a paper to finish. And then later on, when he actually had serious issues and there was big stuff involved, and they went to the professors and they were like, hey, this guy says he was under duress. Can you guys attest to that? And they're like, absolutely not. Our grad students don't have those problems. That's not a real thing. No. Professors that he never met, that he didn't know, from different schools were coming out and being like, no, this is not a thing. He is absolutely wrong. Because it's an environment in which grad students are very, very susceptible to being taken advantage of because of their position and because of how much they rely on their advisors and their teachers to get the things they need, right? So now they're in a position to be taken advantage of, and because the professors know and they understand that in order to keep the system and the status quo the way it is and not get called out for the horrible things they themselves are doing, they got to band together and keep the grad students down. So this is two deep issues right now. This is academia, and this is total utter feminist hypocrisy. And both of these things have the same root, and that's tribalism. Right? Tribalism is the idea we look for like groups and we bind together with them and we defend them at all costs, and we sort of kind of throw logic and rationality out the window in favor of emotion and in favor of togetherness. And that's what you see today. That's what you saw, right? The internet was supposed to bring about the end of tribalism, and it was supposed to bring about globalism. We're all friends and we all get along and understand each other. And instead, people just couldn't let go of the safety net that tribalism allows them, so they're just clinging on to it. They're just clinging on to it, and that's exactly why we have 90% of the problems that we're having on the social platforms today. People, you gotta let go of it. It's not about what labels and words you put on yourself to identify how you think and who you are. That doesn't serve us anymore. We're supposed to be more advanced like that. It's time y'all started acting like it. Anyway, that's today's stuff. But I just want to remind you guys all that if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. Click the bell so you're getting notifications. Click that like button. That's super, super awesome. Send me your comments. I always want to know what you think. I'm very, very interested in hearing your thoughts as well as my own. I like to talk, but I also like to listen, weirdly enough. And also share these videos. That does so much more than you know to help get mindless entertainment out there. So thank you so very, very much, and we'll talk again soon.